Okay, so welcome everybody to this week's call. My name's Jackie Boyle, and as always, I get the pleasure of being able to host this call on behalf of Dr. Joseph Ahrens. And this week we've got a special guest, and I'm going to let Dr. Ahrens introduce a very good friend of both of us. And the topic this week is creating a healthy lifestyle naturally. And we're very excited about this topic this week because it falls in alignment with our belief system, and we hope that you enjoy it as much as we know we are going to. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Dr. Ahrens, to introduce our special guests this week.
Really, thank you very much. I'm really glad to be here, as always, every week to bring people information on the healthy lifestyle. And you know, this week we're going to hear from Dr. Ron, and he has been with us for years, a critical supporter of our philosophy. He's going to talk on creating a healthy lifestyle, actually a healthy life. And I want to point that out, that it's creating, it's not a sit on the couch thing. You have to go forward and do it. You create this, but you can do that. And Dr. Ron, I'm glad you're here, and I want to turn over to you. Some of you have not known him as long as we have. Maybe you could just give a few pointers about your background. But here's Dr. Ron. The guy is full of wisdom and experience. Thanks, Ron.
You're welcome, Dr. Joe. Excuse me here. I'm going to start with actually sharing my screen, if that's okay with you guys, and that way I can give you a little bit of overview, if I can find the right buttons here. Okay, where do I hit that button? Slideshow, begin, there we go. So my name is Ron Boersema, born many years ago, a little older than Dr. Joe by a few years, but my background started out as an architect years ago. Loved it, loved creating, designing, but there was some circumstances in my life with my wife's family and my own family. Both had some serious health challenges that got me very curious about how to become healthy naturally, because they were just going to the doctors and playing the medical routine. And I'm not saying that's bad, but that's what they did. That's how we're brought up. And there was some serious complications and early demise to many in our family. And so it got me thinking, okay, why should I change what I'm doing to not go down that same route? So actually it was 29 years ago this month that I opened up my healthcare practice after, I was 48 years old, and met a wonderful man, Dr. Robert Preston, who kind of took me under his wing. He was 11 years my senior. When he first met me, he asked me a few questions, and I knew I didn't know a whole lot about nutrition, but knew I was very curious. So he developed a class that we took, and it took us 2 years to go through the class, and got our degrees as healthiatrists. And the healthiatrist is just a simple term like healthiatry or psychiatry. It's doctor of health. So we learned to teach people how to be healthy naturally by doing an evaluation. So what we do is have people come in, fill out a lot of questions, talk to them, what's your diet? How do you sleep? What's your family history? And then we would do, if needed, food allergy testing. We would do things like hormone evaluations, digestive analysis. How's the body functioning? Because if we're not functioning properly, we've got a real problem. So that's kind of the background. And our slogan is building health, not treating disease. Now, I'm not saying at all that we should never use medication. They are appropriate at certain times, but I'll explain why that's not always the right thing to do. So it all starts with making healthy food choices. And the pictures up there kind of are graphic of how I grew up. Grass-fed, free-range cattle and beef, and we had organically grown produce. There were no GMOs back in the day. And we had free range, no hormones in our chickens. They weren't all in a coop with 1 million birds like we have literally a few miles from our house, where they've got millions of birds in little cages, and they're pumped full of hormones to make big chicken breasts and chicken legs. And they cause problems. So free range and then free range eggs obviously is a really good thing as well. So, and it begins with activity. Our bodies are designed to move and to do strength training. We walk, we've been walking for over 50 years now, almost 3 to 5 miles a day. There's occasions we don't get there, and then I've got a total gym. I do upper body work on that to keep myself physically as fit as I know how to do. And oops. So healthy activity, what is that? Walking. So making healthy food choices, critical. Inactivity and treating the symptoms of sub-health conditions will lead to poor health. And I just got a little graphic up there. It says, what has changed in the health of our children since I was born in 1943 during the war. In fact, I looking at the pictures of vegetables, I can remember having a victory garden with my folks. My dad would say, there's the shovel, there's the manure, spade the garden over. We grew our own food and we ate our own food, and it was in season that we ate those foods, and we had activity. We ran outdoors. Unlike what we see below there is the grocery carts of today and the inactivity of people sitting behind a computer playing games rather than outdoors getting fresh air and just putting all this garbage in their body and expecting to be healthy. It's not the way we should live our lives. So it all starts here. The standard American diet, it's called, or SAD is a good term for it. And it all came about really in my lifetime, because when I grew up, the grocery store we went to when we didn't have enough food in the cellar, where my mom canned the food that we ate, then we went to this grocery store, and it was literally probably not much bigger than the size of my house. There weren't that many foods. Today you go to the grocery store and it covers acres. So my question is, did God create that many new foods since I was born? I don't think so. So who did? Well, we see the examples, the pizzas, the burgers, the donuts, the hot dogs, and that's the daily diet for a lot of people today, sadly. So what are the consequences of this radical change? Well, we have a choice. We can either choose sick care or health care. And there's a picture of some wonderful greens in a refrigerator, or we have the medicine cabinet, which mine's pretty much empty. So let's look at what we should do or not do. So I put together this quick guide to healthy eating, and I've been teaching this literally for 29 years now. These are health protectors, foods that we can eat if we're not allergic to them. And you'll notice it says there, eat 3 servings from this group of food, which are mostly alkaline foods. And alkaline foods help to keep your body's pH in balance. And pH, potential for hydrogen, is critical to avoiding disease. So fresh vegetables, fresh fruits, fresh salads, beans, peas, whole grains, true nuts, which are not peanuts, they're grown underground. True nuts hang on a tree. Dried fruits in limited amounts, and vegetable juices. And what we do say too is that yogurt is kind of neutral, so you can really eat all you want, but it should be from raw goat or cow's milk. So to continue, there's another group, and we should eat only one group out of this, one serving out of this group. And if you take your fist and look at your fist, what you want on your plate is about a fist size amount of each of these groups. So this group, 1 serving from out of the fish and the fowl, the chickens, the beef, the lamb, the eggs, the butter, grass-fed cows, and rice milk, almond milk, heavy cream. Those are health protectors, and these are mostly acidic foods. So if we get that in the right ratio, 3 of the first group to 1 out of this group, then we have the right proportion to keep that alkaline acid balance. So our blood alkaline acid balance is between 7.3 and 7.4. There's very little deviation in the blood. And that's the way it should be, because if it did deviate, we die. If it's out of that range, we're dead. But our body pH can vary. You can check that with saliva, you can check that with urine. And we used to do that with people. And we'd see people very, very acidic because they're eating out of what's coming up next. So raw fruits and vegetables are really preferred. Steam rather than boil the vegetables. I go back and remember my mother, she used to put potatoes on the stove on Saturday night for the Sunday dinner and boil the snot out of them. And there was nothing left in them. And it's all starch anyway, but there's nothing left when you boil. So for cooking, we need coconut oil. Dr. Joe's talked about that many, many times. Butter is good for us. Herb teas, coffee are preferred for the warm beverages. For sweetening, limited, but a little honey, maybe a little stevia. And then at the bottom it says, drink half of your body weight in ounces of pure water a day. That's a hard thing to do. A lot of people struggle with that. And as we age, our bodies, they don't sense the necessity of water. We lose that thirst mechanism. And I gotta literally keep that thing right by my desk here. So I think, okay, I haven't drank now in about an hour. Drink some water. It's good for us. Keeps your body hydrated. It moves things through our body, and that's critical. So then we have health destroyers. Now, do we ever eat anything out of this group? Yes. I mean, we're living in the real world, but for maximum health, we should avoid, for the most part, this list. Homogenized and pasteurized milk. It's dead. Margarine. It's man-made. If you looked at how margarine's made, I would challenge people, do your own research, Google it, look at margarine. How is margarine made? Peanut butter, hydrogenated. Look that word up. What does it mean? The processed and American style cheeses, polyunsaturated oils, fast foods like pizzas. Now you can make a good pizza if you're doing the right things, but basically if you're getting it from the big box stores or whatever, you're not going to get it. Prepared foods, the box, canned, frozen, pre-mixed foods, etc. Now, frozen, if you're going to have to do that route because of whatever reason, frozen would probably be the best way to use it. But snacks, the potato chips, the corn chips, the crackers, the pretzels, white bread, buns, rolls. We used to have this thing, and maybe it's still around, called Wonder Bread, and you wonder what's in it because there's nothing there. But the pastries, the cakes, the pies, the rolls, the donuts, the sweet rolls, the cookies, hey, we all love those from time to time, but those were treats in my day. They weren't the normal daily diet, which we see in so much of our culture today. And it's not only the standard American diet, we've taken that worldwide. And then we got candy and ice cream, one of my favorites of all time, but anyway, not good. So my mission is building health, not treating disease. So to have optimum health in today's world, we also really need to supplement our diet because the foods do not contain what we had 100 years ago. And Dr. Joe, as if you've been on this call with Dr. Joe over the years, you know, we have a flavonoid deficiency syndrome because it's not in our food and vegetables anymore because of our processing of things today. So, and the flavonoids are critical to supporting a strong immune system for a vibrant, healthy life. Also, if we're eating mostly processed foods, not raw, which have enzymes, we should use digestive enzymes with each meal. And without the proper amount of enzymes, we fail to break down the foods we eat. That can lead to malabsorption of nutrients that we need to function at optimum health. And undigested foods lead to an immune system thinking that we've got toxins invading us. So the immune system sets off the guards, the troops go out and fight, and we've got an allergic reaction. And that can manifest itself in many ways, depending on maybe your genetic weakness, but all of it weakens our immune system even more. So this combination with a lack of adequate exercise, lack of proper hydration, water consumption, we get constipated. And I just was watching the television on the news tonight. There was a person who had irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, and Dr. Joe has talked about that in the past. My mother and father both dealt with those things, and you cannot hold what you have, and when you've got to go, you've got to go. But if we have those toxins there, it's exciting, that system, but if we get plugged up, that puts a real burden on the system too, and that burdens the immune system even more yet. So then we start to experience sub-health conditions, and left unchecked, they can lead to dis-ease within the body. And then you start naming your favorite charities that you would donate to. So everybody always asks me, well, Dr. Ron, what do you eat personally? That's how in fact, I used to, when I had my practice, I would take women to the grocery store, meet them at the grocery store and walk through the stores and tell them, okay, go to the perimeter aisles and forget the back and forth aisles because there's nothing there but dead food. And I always thought the guys at the grocery store thought I had a new woman every week because it was always a different woman. And I was talking about what foods to eat. And a lot of them didn't recognize, even the cashiers don't know what things are because they don't scan fresh produce in the grocery store. So there's a breakfast and a lot of times, and this is typical, but we'll have a half a grapefruit. We'll have raw vegetables. And that all started out by having a bird. And I looked up, what do birds eat? And the birds were pretty healthy, so they eat a lot of raw vegetables. So we eat raw vegetables. That's typical for breakfast, coffee cup saucer. And then we'll have some toast, Ezekiel bread, once in a while a little bacon with it, but eggs, avocados, really good. And sometimes it's a omelet like that one. For lunch, we're gonna do a raw salad, half a banana and maybe a little bit of cheese and some homemade soup that Donna's a master at doing, a variety. And those salads consist of romaine lettuce, chopped red onions, cucumbers with the skins on them, bell peppers, red peppers, yellow peppers, green peppers, radishes, hard-boiled egg, and avocado, ripe avocado. And a lot of people struggle with, how do you know when an avocado is ripe? You got to kind of feel it. It needs to be not really hard and not really soft, just you touch it a little bit, it's got some movement to it, like a muscle on your body, maybe. Anyway, because people, if they try avocados and they're not ripe, they won't use them again. But avocados are a good fat along with the coconut oil that Dr. Joe was talking about. So all of these things are critical as to what we put in our body for fuel. And it all begins with whole live foods, living foods that are not highly processed. So in the end, it's really a choice you have. And like what they would say, grasshopper, choose wisely and build health. So that's my presentation. And Dr. Joe, if you've got any questions, you're welcome to ask those and we can chat.
Well, as usual, I don't have any question. And what I really find surprising, we have gotten to where we are in our lives now. We're close to the same age, both in the health profession. You started as architect. I would like to point out that was my actually first degree in 1969, not degree, but I started as an architect and then I got into some other things, but that's very interesting. Never knew that. But the point is that we've come to the same conclusion from two different roads. We're at an intersection, and you and I just agreed on 90% of the things that we've talked about. And yes, man, just the processing. You know, I was actually head of technology for Green Giant for several years, and well, I did. You know, I got my paycheck. Probably put a lot of bad stuff in people's bodies, but I'm past that now, and I agree. Eat whole, eat live foods. Don't cook them to death. Yeah, my grandmother, she didn't know a bean. She'd take a bean and put it on a plate. It would just fall down like a melted marshmallow. No, don't overcook things. Eat raw if you can. And then also, it's not just about people say, oh, you're health nut. No, because listen, the other side, this is real science. We do eat things that are good for you. Saturated fats are not so bad. Yeah, margarine. Stay away from margarine. That stuff, it should be illegal. It's worse for you than smoking cigarettes. It should be illegal. It kills people. It has no function in the human body other than to make it to taste good. And it doesn't taste anywhere near as good as butter. Coconut oil, you know, everybody, you got to really dig into the science. People for a while said, oh, these coconut oils are killing you. No. The ones we're talking about are actually beneficial for you, not processed coconut oil. Coconut oil comes like just in like olive oils. You get the first press and the second press and the cooked to death press. Get the first pass virgin coconut oil, very good, very heart healthy, just like olive oil, avocado oil. And man, these things are delicious. So Dr. Ron, I really do appreciate that. And on not just that you have come to these same conclusions, but you know, you're just a colleague in this business, because all the time people are trying to knock us down. And I want to reiterate what you said. We are not anti-medicine. This is not about let's kick the doctors and that. You know what, when you cut your arm off or something, you need a surgeon, you need blood clotters, you need medicine. And there's a time for that. But unfortunately, we have in this day and age gotten blinded that medicine's the answer to everything, and it is not. Let's go back to how we were when we were healthy 100, 500 years ago, even more. And that's the diet we're proposing. And so I thank you again for being here. Now, if anybody has any questions to Dr. Ron, you can just send them in to Jackie, and we'll be sure that we get them addressed over the next week or so. Dr. Ron, anything you want to say in closing?
Well, I just appreciate you, Doc, for being there in the forefront of all this and bringing to us some amazing flavonoids and other things in your profession to really help all of us gain that natural health. And I think it's so important. Like you said, you know, we're not anti-medical doctor, but if you got a problem with your gallbladder, don't run to the surgeon. Find out why the gallbladder's got a problem. Ask the little questions. Why am I experiencing this? Why do I have a headache? Yes. Did I bump my head?
Yeah.
Well, maybe a Tylenol might help, but there's other reasons. Maybe it's what you're eating is causing these issues. And or, you know, you joke, you're living in the sun. We live in the sun. I put coconut oil on my face. I put it in my mouth. It's just tremendous. We cook with it all the time. Just love it.
Well, thank you very much. Jackie, are you there? You want to say anything in closing?
I always have something to say. So, as you know, look, Dr. Ron, I really want to thank you so much because, you know, you really are just adding another layer on top of certainty for people to understand the importance of why we need to be looking at eating raw, natural food, and to be able to see a day for you, for what that looks like for yourself and your beautiful wife, Donna, and what you consume and why you're so healthy. Like, I've known you for 6 years plus now, and as I've said to you, it's like you're anti-aging all the time and not making any claims, but we are what we eat. And it's an interesting, you know, it's not a concept, it's just fact. You know, we say that to people, have a look at what you're putting in your trolley. And it is when you go down the supermarket and you're looking at these kids and you can hear the kids before you see them, because they're off the scale. And then when you look in the trolley on what the parents are deciding to feed them, you go, I can kind of understand why. They're just loaded in sugar and processed foods. And is it their fault? You know, I'm not going to say anything there, but we are what we eat. And so it's nice to have you back up what Dr. Ahrens brings to the table week in, week out. So I really do thank you so much for sharing with us your thoughts, and it really does allow us to share this with others, because being able to see what is so simple in pictures, we can tell somebody something, but they don't always hear it, and we can show them, but they don't always see it. So if we do both together, I hope that somebody gathers as much from it as what I have today, because it's nice to see what others are doing. So I want to thank you so much. I want to thank Dr. Ahrens as well for putting his input into. And I hope that each and every one of you have a great weekend. And I look forward to seeing you all next week with another great topic as well. So have a great weekend, everybody. And thank you so much again. Bye for now.